Craving the perfect holiday snack? Check out Farmer Bill's Biltong. Think beef jerky, but better. No sugar, no preservatives, just pure animal protein goodness. Crafted from premium grass-fed beef or bison and air-dried to perfection, Farmer Bill's Biltong is nutrient-packed, energy-dense, and perfect for an on-the-go treat or a standout snack for your next party. My favorite is the original bison, but the other flavors like the original beef, smokehouse, and spicy chili had me second-guessing that choice more than once. Visit FarmerBillsProvisions.com to grab a 1-pound slab or a variety pack and use code BIZBIT10 for 10% off. Farmer Bill's Biltong, don't be the 2-liter guy at this year's Christmas party.
And the reason Bitcoin has clicked a lot for me the past few years is primarily because I think a lot of it has to do with running my own business. I'm like waiting for a $15,000 check to like be mailed from like Canada to our mailbox in Colorado. Then I'm like, shoot, I'm not in Colorado. I'm in Florida right now. So I need it here. And it's like, I wish we could just use Bitcoin to like make these transfers and make it settle, you know, in 10 minutes and it's done.
Welcome to the Business Bitcoinization Show, the show dedicated to helping you enrich your life and grow your business with Bitcoin, the hardest money on planet Earth. I'm your host, Josh Friedemann, and our guest today is Jake Gosselin, who's the founder of Churchfront, an education, consulting, and media platform that equips worship and production leaders in the local church. Today, we're going to be talking about the growth of his business, his interest in Bitcoin, and we're also going to be talking about how business owners can be developing meaningful YouTube content, video content to grow their businesses. But before we get to today's interview, we have this week's Bitcoin Meetup Spotlight. And this week, it's not just any Bitcoiners, it's the New Jersey Bitcoiners. The New Jersey Bitcoiners are centrally located near Philadelphia, New York City, and everywhere in between. So you're always only a short ride away. Plus, they meet very close to Plainfield's Amtrak station, so no car, no problem. Their monthly meetings are a combination of Bitcoin-specific deep dives, orange pilling sessions, and Bitcoiners just hanging out. They also feature New Jersey's best coffee. I'm guessing that's Wawa coffee, but I might be wrong about that. Who knows? Seed oil-free snacks, and if you choose, ice cream. Plus, they're now in Bitcoin Magazine's affiliated Bitcoin Meetup Network, which means if you join them enough times, you can get your Bitcoin 2023 conference tickets for 50% off. So what are you waiting for? Join the New Jersey Bitcoiners. You can find them on Twitter at NJBTC or on Meetup, where there are also some pictures of their recent events. Both those links are down below. And if you're interested in finding a Bitcoin meetup near you, I encourage you to download the Oshi app, where you'll be able to find the closest Bitcoin meetup to you. Now, we're going to get to our interview with Jake right after this. Business owners, unlock the benefits Bitcoin has to offer your business with the Bitcoin for Business Quick Start Guide. This 27-page guide highlights the 6 ways you can grow your business with Bitcoin. Check it out in the show notes. Jake, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me, Josh. Great to be here. Thanks for that intro. I forgot I gave you my quick little bio, so I was like, that's exactly what I do. That's like, how'd you come up with that? And I told you that.
Absolutely. And for, we're going to get into our initial 5 questions in just a second. I already told you this before the interview, but to kind of set the stage for people who may not have heard of Churchfront before, I have a brother who is a worship leader at a church. He said that you were a top 3 content creator in the space. And I told my brother, who is a senior pastor at a church, that I was going to be talking to you. And he said, no, you're number 1. So you don't have to confirm or deny that. But just to give our listeners an idea, you have a very successful business, and I'm looking forward to getting into these questions. So you ready for them?
Yeah, I'm ready. Let's go.
All right. First question, when and how did you first learn about Bitcoin?
I first remember hearing about it in 2015 or 16 on the Planet Money podcast. Then that was a time I started to learn more about business and economics. I listened to that podcast a lot and I found it fascinating. I just remember that was the first time I ever heard about it. Maybe I had kind of heard about it before then, but the first time I ever gave it any conscious attention. And apparently the way it was explained wasn't very helpful for me at the time, or because I did not become a Bitcoiner then. Instead, I just kind of watched it from afar, heard about it during the hype bubbles. So it wasn't until late 2020, a younger cousin of my wife's, he's like a kind of a finance nerd, and we kind of always geeked out about investing stuff in stocks. And then he's like, dude, you gotta learn more about Bitcoin. So he kind of got me onto the Bitcoin bandwagon during the euphoria of the late 2020 rally into 2021. And that's when I like read the Bitcoin Standard. I remember reading that book in November of 2020. This was when Bitcoin back then, it's actually trading not too much lower than it is right now. This is probably around 20,000. It was about to break the all-time highs from the 2017 bull run. And listen, and yeah. So anyways, I was like reading Saifedean's book, and it finally clicked. And the reason Bitcoin has clicked a lot for me the past few years is primarily because I think a lot of it has to do with running my own business and understanding more how the financial system works. Just because when you run a business and you're moving money around, and whether that's money that you're sending to your employees or money you're trying to receive for your services or products, you kind of realize how clunky everything is. Like, I'm literally right now, it's just some of it's communication issues with some clients, but I'm like waiting for a $15,000 check to like be mailed from like Canada to our mailbox in Colorado. Then I'm like, shoot, I'm not in Colorado. I'm in Florida right now. So I need it here. And it's like, I wish we could just use Bitcoin to like make these transfers and make it settle, in 10 minutes and it's done. Right. So that's part of it. My own practical like experience of being a business owner, starting to appreciate it as a settlement tool, a payment tool. And I've also really had a fascination with economics since that time I told you back in 2015, and thinking about the intersection of faith and economics and how that all works. There's very little on that in the context where I was developed professionally to work in the church environment. Like, pastors don't often think about economic stuff at all. Dave Ramsey's maybe the most popular financial voice in the space, the church space, the Christian space. But understanding like how pretty much in a nutshell, I'm for the most part libertarian. I'm a conservative libertarian, if that's possible. That's how I self-identify as my political leanings. Yeah. So I've had more and more like Ron Swanson-ish beliefs about pretty much government is really bad, and it needs to be as little as it can be without, it just needs to be as small as possible. And then when you dive down the whole fiat world of how government works and how the money serves the government, it's pretty scary stuff. And that also gave me increasingly strong convictions about Bitcoin. So that's kind of how I kind of went down the rabbit hole.
Yeah, so I started really getting interested in Bitcoin in 2021. And for me, I first heard about it like you in 2015, and the person who was describing it to me, or it could have been me, but like it didn't catch my attention. But then 2021, so many great resources, great educational resources, great voices in the space, as well as just like it's a stronger and stronger network. So 2021 was a no-brainer for me. 2022, not that fun. 2023, is a great time to continue stacking. So I feel like this was a really good time to get into the space, considering where it was, the price in 2017. All that to say, I can definitely resonate with some of what you're saying. I think all of us wish that we had gotten into the space earlier, but very thankful for where we are right now. So question number 2 is this: what's an insight or fact about Bitcoin that you wish everyone understood?
There's so many of them, and it's hard to, again, to me, I always feel like I have to give people a broader picture when I'm trying to articulate Bitcoin, a broader picture of how the existing system works and how it really kind of, the fiat system that we're a part of actually makes the problems that we face, like let's say wealth inequality, worse, right? There are those who are close to the money printers, and I would even, say that's me. I personally can benefit from stuff like that because I've got great credit. I have the business. I have good income. So when I want to move to Florida, I can go get $500,000 of currency just printed out of nowhere to go buy a new house, and which is a mortgage, right? So it's like, I guess it's like helping people understand the fiat world and how messed up that is. That's what kind of Bitcoin exposes. That's why I like Saifedean's books, Bitcoin Standard, and then his Fiat Standard book. That was a big one because it then you see how it influences all areas of life, like the education system, our food system and health system. And he kind of walks through them all in the different chapters. And if you spend any time in the Bitcoin world and Twitter, it's like not just about like Bitcoiner culture. I feel like isn't just about Bitcoin. It's about all these other kind of peripheral topics or areas of life that Bitcoin impacts. So that's what I don't know. I think the biggest insight to me is it helps people even be aware of the concept of macroeconomics and the problems with big government controlling money, and helping them understand too. It's like, hey, those dollars that are in your bank account, like you actually don't control those. Like you could have large sums of like, hundreds of thousands of dollars of cash or whatever. And it's like, go to a local bank and tell them you want to get $100,000 cash right now. Like, right. Like you're not going to it's not going to happen. Right. And then most people, again, you don't really think of that. Even if with smaller sums, they're going to like interrogate you like you're a criminal if you ask for your money in that way. And then the ability to, like when I'm talking to my friends who are more gold bugs, is helping them understand how the tech breakthrough of technology is to have pretty much the essential or the similar store of value properties as gold, but then you can move it around anywhere in the world that's on the, has a network connection, and immediately like settle that transaction. So like it makes it much cheaper to do that, but it's still hyper secure because it's all written in code, and it's safer to do that because, again, we've all heard about like someone can use firearms or force to come and take your gold away from you. Right. But like, if you have your Bitcoin recovery seed in your head, it's like, they can't really take that away from you by force. Well, if they try to kill you, it's like, they can't get it either. Right. So those are some of the things I'm like, wow, this is a really fascinating technology. There's probably a lot more other insights. I feel like it's so many different ways you can go with it.
I think the way you described it makes a lot of sense, though. It's like it's a stepping off point into a whole lot of other areas. It makes you question a whole lot of other things, and very frequently to positive outcomes. Every once in a while, you start seeing people go down some crazy directions, and maybe they're still right, but definitely a lot of really good areas connected to money, to value, to food. So question number 3, you've already talked about Saifedean a couple times, so that might be your answer. But what's the Bitcoin resource that you most recommend to other people?
Yeah, for sure. The Bitcoin Standard, the Fiat Standard. I really like the Bitcoin Layer. I read that one more recently. And I always say start with the books. Sometimes podcasts can only do so much in helping you grasp an entire concept. But to me, like many people, the guy who really orange pilled me was Michael Saylor podcast back in late 2020 after his company bought a ton of Bitcoin. And I think he articulated, at least it was right for the moment of time I was in, he articulated it in a way that just made a lot of sense. And I still think he's obviously like one of the best Bitcoin evangelists per se of getting that message out there in a way that is simple to understand. Because a lot of smart people have a hard time explaining things in a way that people who don't live in that world all the time can understand. So question number 4 is this: beyond Bitcoin, so outside of the Bitcoin realm, what is a resource, an idea, or a tool that's been helpful to you or your business recently? So the nature of my business, for folks who are listening, it's a service-based business where we offer consulting. So we do a lot of virtual consulting for churches over Zoom, and then we do a lot of online courses. We do, have a YouTube channel, and we have live events. So to us, like I mean, some of the resources I've looked up to lately, I would say, is a guy like Alex Hormozy. He's kind of like taken the social media accounts by storm, and for good reason. I think he has really great content, and following his business tips, like simple things like, hey, like for your services, like you should be offering more flexibility with payment plans for people. So it's like if you're selling a $5,000 service or product, it's like give them the option to basically like break that up over time, and you're gonna have way less objections to close those deals. And what do you know? Our team started doing that, and it's great. We actually are able to increase our pricing, offer more flexibility, payment plans, and everybody's happier at the end of the day. So he's been a great resource. If folks are like newer in business, I always say go to read the book Profit First by Michael Michalowicz, because that is what I used from day one when I was a freelance videographer to now a small business. We're not a huge business, but we're over 7 figures, and we're a team of 4 people. So it's like, decent chunk of money moving around. Yep. And I've had to learn capital allocation, how to know, how much do I set aside for taxes? How much do I allocate for expenses like payroll and software and the things? And he has a really good model that I feel like works for literally a $10,000 a year business up to like a $10 million a year business. So Profit First, check out that book. I always recommend people. And then guys like Pat Flynn were a huge mentor to me. He does a lot of online business stuff, a blog, Sam Ovens stuff, consulting.com, Taylor Welch with trafficandfunnels.com. So those are all kind of my mentors. I've kind of pieced together all the good things they have and kind of made it my own. And that's where I'm at today.
Excellent. Now we have our final, what we call our arbitrary but insightful question, and it's this. As a general life principle, is it better to ask why or why not?
My gut says why. So, I mean, the thing that first thing that comes to mind for me whenever we have questions is when sometimes we come up with like a new product or service idea or new offering with our business, and I'm learning that I guess maybe I'm just becoming older and less more risk averse as I don't know, as we get going. But also I've learned like it's hard to like just take on any new idea and execute on stuff. It was easier when you're actually getting going, I think, because you could try a lot of things, see what's working with your market, and then just like once you find it, you hone in on it. But even as we grow, I feel like it's even more important to like say no to more and more things, because now we actually have the resources. We could go into other kind of areas of our niche. Even in the worship and production world I'm in, there's lots of different products. But so a new idea comes to me, and I don't know, I'm like, why do it? Like, why, if it's gonna take our core attention off of what we do with our core offering. So I don't know. Now I'm gonna think about that question more, because I'm not even fully satisfied with my answer to it. But I think usually I find myself asking myself just why. Usually not why not. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I think part of it is just hearing other business owners, other thinkers process through and share why they've chosen something. Because at the end of the day, you can make a case for either one. I have my biases, but it's helpful to understand how other people think. And you've kind of described that with some of your previous answers, just like understanding how different business owners who are successful, understanding the process, why they're doing what they're doing. And then you kind of take it and apply it to your situation. So I appreciate you kind of reasoning through that for the audience. Meet Linkster, your premier Bitcoin-focused advisor. Linkster caters to businesses, institutions, family offices, and high net worth individuals. They merge your unique financial goals and needs with Linkster's Bitcoin expertise to craft your own sustainable plan to preserve and grow the value of your hard-earned profits and retained earnings. And Linkster is not just advice, it's tailored execution. Connect directly with the founder by visiting linkster.com. That's LYNCSTER.com. Linkster. Secure your future with Bitcoin. Today's episode of Business Bitcoinization is proudly brought to you by Velis Commerce, where the future of business technology meets Bitcoin. As we journey through the era of Bitcoin and its transformational impact on businesses, there's one name that stands out: Velis Commerce. Whether you're looking to build a cutting-edge website, a seamless mobile app, or custom software, Velis is your go-to team. They've been diving deep into the world of Bitcoin since 2014, making them one of the most experienced groups for integrating Bitcoin and Lightning payments into a variety of digital platforms. But here's what truly sets them apart. Velis Commerce doesn't just build. They bring a wealth of knowledge to ensure your project's success from day one. Their team understands the nuances of Bitcoin, ensuring that your business stays ahead of the curve. And for all business Bitcoinization listeners out there, Velis Commerce is offering a free consultation to kickstart your project the right way. So if you're ready to future-proof your business in the coming age of hyper-Bitcoinization, head over to veliscommerce.com or reach out on Twitter at veliscommerce. Let's make sure your business thrives in the Bitcoin era. Now today, we're going to be talking about a little bit about Churchfront. You've already shared with us some of why you like Bitcoin. So I guess from this point, if you could just share with us Churchfront, how you got started and a little bit about your growth and how you help people, especially because there might be people listening to this podcast right now who would love to do work with another Bitcoiner who could benefit, whose church could benefit from working with Churchfront.
Yeah. So I, from a earlier age of high school, I felt a pretty clear calling into worship ministry because I just started serving in the church since I was like in 6th grade and loved the worship band, loved music, loved all the tech stuff I was getting into, and went to school for these things. I went to get a music degree. I went to seminary, and I was like, I want to be a full-time worship pastor. So that was kind of like the trajectory I was on from basically up until 2016. I was a full-time worship pastor. So, and then at that same time, I sort of had this entrepreneurial awakening. I think also everybody kind of comes across this. If they're bound to be an entrepreneur, it's going to happen. It might be a painful process because if you're not really aware of it, but it kind of became clear to me that like I really like building things. I really like being in an environment where I don't feel like I'm capped with some sort of like ceiling above what I can do and what I can produce and the impact I can make. So around that time in 2016, that's when and I apologize if you're hearing any screaming coming from the other room over there. Got three kids, 4 years old and under. Got the mic as closest to me as I possibly can. In 2016, I kind of was like, well, what if I could bring together this entrepreneurial spirit I had, which was I was doing a lot of freelance videos, shooting weddings on the side, with the ministry passion I have. And I kind of came up with this idea for Churchfront. I'm like, hey, there's nobody like serving the worship and tech space online with like good content, just good free content, and then like online courses and stuff like that. So that's why I came across a guy like Pat Flynn, who inspired me with his story. He was in the architecture world, and then he built a business helping architects. I was like, man, I could do the same thing with worship ministry. So I went down that path. My video business, I was shooting so many weddings. I was like, that got me to, I think I was making like over $100,000 a year, just like shooting weddings, mostly during the summertime in Colorado. So that gave me an off ramp to let go of my full-time job at the church I was at as a worship leader. I was then doing part-time worship leading, mostly freelance video work. And then I was like, man, I want to build this business. So that's what I was doing from like 2017. I started a YouTube channel called Churchfront, and just making content for worship ministry leaders, production directors. And yeah, that's my other thing. I always find myself encouraging other entrepreneurs, like, you got to start a YouTube channel, even if your market is like local. Like, I've been encouraging my real estate agent friends to make good localized content for people browsing to buy in your area. Like, that's a no-brainer, because that's how I buy properties when I'm like looking online and trying to learn about them. To national reach or global reach, like it's one of those things where it definitely rewards the patient and the persistent, right? Like, you can't, if you're an impatient person, you're not going to like YouTube at all. But like, if you learn the strategy, you make content that people are searching for, you are going to win in the long run. Even if you're like not charismatic, even if you can't do fancy production, you're gonna win. So I just started pouring into it, and I'm so glad I did, because that channel now has almost, I think it's at like 230,000 subscribers, like almost a quarter million subscribers within this small little niche that nobody even really thought that much about, 5 to 7 years ago. And it's been a blast because it's unlocked so many opportunities. And our YouTube channel is basically our most powerful, or one of our most powerful marketing assets as a business, because we're getting people reaching out to us multiple times a day, every time a day, to hire us for anywhere from $7,000 to $12,000 consulting packages on autopilot. Like, we're like literally, I mean, we put the content up once a week. We've been doing this. We get probably 12,000 views a day on the channel. And then we get those people reaching out to us, and we're not paying for ads for those types of leads. I do ads for other types of product sales, but that was just, yeah. So anyways, that was kind of the journey. It was like, I was eventually able to go full time with Churchfront when I launched a membership site. And then since then was kept kind of dialing in, tweaking the offer, realized like, if I'm going to scale, if I can hire good team members, if I can actually help clients better, we're going to have this more cohesive consulting offer, which is like, you're getting real help from real people virtually or in person, and then combined with the online courses we've made. A lot of people too, they think they go in an online business world and they're like, I'm just going to be behind a computer, not talk to anybody, and I'm going to be a gazillionaire. It's like, nope, like that's not going to actually, it's actually both and. Like, you can combine the power of the online tools with good old fashioned talking to real people, whether it's in a sales conversation or a consulting coaching conversation. That's how a lot of cool stuff happens. Or actually showing up and helping them on site, doing some done for you services. So that basically, it kept growing. In like 2020 was a huge year of growth for us because of the pandemic. Every single church was trying to figure out how to live stream. I was one of the few channels that had content on this. So these videos went from maybe a few like tens of thousands of views to 500,000 views, like in a very short amount of time. And it was just, people watching the videos, buying courses, buying products with affiliate links. We were finally dialing in our consulting offer. So it was all basically adding up to a place where now, we bring in like, I don't know, somewhere between anywhere from like 80 to 120K a month or something like that as a business.
That's awesome.
And thanks. Yeah. It's just like, I didn't go to business school. I like went through some programs myself to like learn the building blocks. And if you're just persistent with this stuff over time and you don't give up, like, and you're patient, you're going to win. But for a lot of people, like, now you look back over 5-6 years, I feel like it doesn't seem that long, but then in the middle of it, it's like, yeah, that seems like forever. So we're just getting started. I'm excited to do this for the next 10, 20 years. I'm glad I've kind of found my, like, really feel like it's my life's calling with this business and what we're supposed to do with it. So yeah, today it's me and we've got 3 other guys on the team, and we handle all the things, whether it's, I do mostly YouTube and marketing and business strategy. I've got a full-time sales guy, and then we've got a full-time course creator, kind of tech coach, and then another full-time person who's like also a course creator, also a coach, but also does more like kind of customer service stuff. So we have a team of like 4 guys who are like, don't have to be managed, and they just perform their jobs really well. It's just been a blast. So
that's awesome. So, as you're sharing, one of the things that I think would be really great, you've already talked about the value of YouTube, the value of video content. I think it'd be really helpful before we get to some of how you're thinking about Bitcoin and whether any of those conversations ever come up in the business context. What would be most helpful for business owners to do to get started on YouTube or any other video content that they might want to do? Any just quick recommendations? Because you said, it's a matter of patience. There's probably some tech side of things, but just what are like the top few things off the top of your head that people need to be thinking about?
First thing I would say is get over the fact that you don't think you're good on camera, or you can't have great production quality, because I'm telling you that literally does not matter. If you're truly just a subject matter expert and you can just put your camera on selfie mode and hold the phone sideways, assuming we're making it for, not vertical video, Just start talking and recording and putting it out there, and just answer. The simplest way to get started is answer the most frequent questions you hear from your prospective customers or your customers. And then, of course, those same type of people are going to be searching these things online. So one thing I remember early on was also the importance of building an email list. So because my business, I knew it could have like more of a national, global reach. I was like, okay, I'm going to put free stuff up on Facebook. I'm going to put $20 a day into just like getting emails on an email list of people who I know who are worship leaders, right? This is stuff I learned from Pat Flynn. And it's like, hey, here's my free guide to something about worship ministry. And over time, I got that email list of a few thousand people. And then whenever I came out with a new YouTube video, I could send it to those people so I could actually get traffic to the video, which then makes it perform better on YouTube. And then also I had an audience to ask questions, or to be like, hey, I want you to ask me questions. So like, what's your most biggest challenge in worship ministry right now? I'd get a whole host of different questions on different topics, and those were my content ideas for my videos. So then I make videos that people actually want to watch because it's actually their questions, right? So it's like really simple. I think it's a book called The Ask Method that covers that. But yeah, those things were so instrumental when I got things going. So I'm very like, the reason a lot of people don't have success, I think, with content in YouTube is they make content that nobody really cares about or wants to watch. They make content that doesn't answer the questions that people are asking. Yeah. So you're either going to be like super kind of entertaining, like that piques the people's curiosity, like a Mr. Beast in his videos, or just like but the best long-term strategy with YouTube is it's a search engine. So give people the answers they're searching for.
Yep. That's a good word. I appreciate that. Now, one thing that I remember from a few weeks ago is that you were playing with accepting Bitcoin payments on your site. Is that something that people are interested in? Do you plan on pushing that? Or is that just something you plan to accept as more and more people begin, maybe to your point from just a second ago, asking about it?
Yeah, so I was actually surprised how easy it was, because for some of our products, we have like online courses that are they're like a couple $100, it's like your typical e-commerce type store. We use WordPress, and I'm using WooCommerce to manage all those like purchasing of the products. And I didn't realize how easy it was to have the Coinbase Commerce plugin installed on WooCommerce, so you can accept Bitcoin. You can also accept all the other like shit coins too. But I was like, no, I'm not going to accept those. I just want Bitcoin, because that's like,
Love to hear it.
I don't hold any other crypto, right? So it's like just Bitcoin. And part of the reason I want to do it, well, a few reasons. First, I'm a Bitcoiner, so I want to have some sort of avenue to accept payments if the opportunity arises, or if people want to pay me that way. Has anybody used that feature yet? No. I'm like kind of bummed, but then again, I haven't really put it out there. So one idea, and I was wanting to chat with you about this, see what your thoughts are, but like, basically I have it set up so I could have people like, I could send an email out to my list and be like, hey, if you pay with Bitcoin, you'll get a 10% discount, right? So I have it set up so the software, when you check out with Bitcoin, it'll just automatically discount the product. And that's just a way for me. I mean, it's kind of like, well, if I'm bullish in Bitcoin in the short term, then that's great, because I think it's going to definitely appreciate more than 10% in the short term. I can just hold it. It's fine. I think the other piece of it too is just knowing like, okay, that it's some of the accounting stuff gets kind of overwhelming to think about that. And actually, I think someone on Twitter is a specialist at this stuff, because I know my accountants are total boomers and they don't know anything that's going on with Bitcoin. But like, I was thinking it makes sense as a business to even just have just like a small part of the revenue could be paid in Bitcoin, because that could be part of the slice of the revenue that just gets stashed away in savings immediately. Whereas like a lot of the revenue that's paid in fiat dollars, that's where we actually have to, pay payroll and set aside money for taxes, things that just can't be super volatile, like Bitcoin is. So I can accept Bitcoin payments with Coinbase Commerce, through like automated checkout systems with WooCommerce. And then, but Coinbase Commerce also makes it simple just to like drop an invoice and just send someone an invoice and be like, hey, pay it in Bitcoin, and boom. So for us, long term, the strategy is like there's a lot of people in Africa, especially like countries like Nigeria. And I think that's going to make it easy for them to start paying for our products. And what I need to do, this kind of reminds me of that because I haven't done this yet, but I can actually segment out my email list to like to Africa and like those countries. Be like, hey, if you guys want Churchfront courses, maybe I'd actually give them a significant discount because their economy there is like horrible thanks to our fiat system, right? And I could actually do that, and then it'd be fun. It'd be a cool way to bless them and just give them an easy way to like get access to my courses using Bitcoin. So I'm gonna try that. I wish I would have tried it before this podcast. I could have told you how it went, but we could talk about it later too.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. I'd love to do a update in the future to see how things are going. Just for listeners right now, and this is kind of for you as well potentially. But a few of the businesses that come to mind, and you may be talking about some of these, but Satoshi Petroli Accounting, Joe Wood over there, we've interviewed him. He might be the guy on Twitter you're thinking about that does the accounting side of things. Another one, when you're invoicing in Bitcoin, which isn't super relevant to you but could be relevant to someone, is Zapright. We've interviewed the founder as well, John Zapright on Twitter. Then IBEX is a great point of sale system if you're looking to either keep it or keep the Bitcoin or even transfer it into USD. And then finally, for the discounts, I really like Oshi. They're Bitcoin only, and what they do is they give you cash back or sats back in Bitcoin. So, and that for you, that's another way. If you're on Oshi, you can you're searchable on Oshi. But I like sending people to Oshi, like even on this podcast, they will have already heard about it, because I like to send people there to find like a Bitcoin meetup. They also have like when you pull up the map, you can see different Bitcoin meetups in your area. So it's kind of a cool thing as well. Cool. But yeah, those are a few companies.
How do you spell that? Oshi?
OSHI, and Michael Atwood is the founder there, and he will usually just person to person onboard you, or at least talk you through some of the possibilities. So Oshi, Michael Atwood's top-notch guy for sure.
No, it's fascinating. I'm looking at their website. It's like, I love hearing about all these different tools. It's awesome.
And there's so many that are being developed right now too. It's super exciting. Some things I just haven't even explored yet, but this has kind of like been a great conversation. Talked about really just a couple of different things. Are there any final thoughts you'd like to leave people with? I really appreciate the YouTube insight that you've given people. Any other thoughts you'd like to leave people with before we finish up today?
Yeah, if you're out there hustling, building a business, keep at it. Part of me is like, it's easy. Don't let Bitcoin be a distraction, because that's where I find sometimes it can be from the core thing of like, hey, you have a particular gift of a product or a service that you're offering to the world. So like hone in on that as time goes on. That kind of my approach is like, yeah, as these tools make sense, I'm going to start implementing them, maybe even try to be an early adopter to help encourage more adoption out there. But my thing, this is more just preaching to myself about like, just don't get distracted by like daily volatility of price movements or some of the dumb drama that goes on like in the crypto world and stuff like that. Just keep on keeping on, building and making great things.
Yeah, and I love the fact, you're so successful in your business to where you can take some profits, put it into Bitcoin, but you don't have to be too worried because you're already, you have that proof of work in your own life. You're being successful, and so that's probably one of the first things for people to be thinking about. How can I be successful? And from there begin, establishing my long-term savings in Bitcoin.
Yep, exactly.
Awesome. Well, hey, Jake, I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for your time today. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, thanks, Josh.
Well, friends, it's a wrap. Thanks so much for listening to this episode of the Business Bitcoinization Show. If you want to reach out to either me or Jake, you can find our links down in the show notes. Check out Churchfront if that would be relevant for you. Also, get to making some video content for your own business. As always, keep building, keep growing, and until next time, keep living and leading well. If you're a regular listener of the podcast, thank you. If you want to take a further step in your support for the show, you can help us grow by listening on Fountain, a value-for-value podcast app on iOS or Android. If you hear something you like that you disagree with or anything else, you can share it by sending some sats and adding a comment with your thoughts. Some of you have already done this, and I appreciate it. I'm going to begin reading your boosts on upcoming episodes, so if you have some insight or value to add, let the people know. Getting started with Fountain is easy. You can add Bitcoin to your Fountain wallet by using your fiat accounts or any Lightning wallet. And one of my favorite features is that once you're using the app, you can earn sats just by listening on Fountain. Check out the link in the show notes to get started with Fountain today.